Welcome to Fold and Share Theology. We're your hosts, Justin Mercier and Bruce Pagano, and this is Theology for Everyone. Welcome to Fold and Share Theology. I'm Justin Mercier here with Bruce Pagano.
Hey, what's up?
And Bruce, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited for. I haven't recorded any kind of short of us recording the promo.
Yeah.
I haven't recorded any kind of podcast for, like 9 or 10 months now. So.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Actually, it was back in September. I recorded for my last podcast that ended, and so that's the last time that I've been on a mic.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
On the airwaves.
Yeah. How about you? How you doing?
Dude, good. You know, we went out and got a bunch of sun today, and I think I'm definitely feel like I'm gonna get.
You're probably a little bit more fair skinned than me. A little
Yeah.
red hair.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But
less Italy, more Norway.
More like Irish. Yeah.
Irish, okay.
But yeah, no, good. You know, it's we're already almost halfway through this year already. Like, I mean, we're talking like June is here, so that's
which actually, when people are listening to this, it's June 4th.
Yeah, which is that's amazing.
Yeah,
how quickly this is. So 2020 is just a roller coaster right now.
Yeah. So as we go along, just for the people out there, I assume that we'll develop more banter and but I'm excited, and if you guys don't know, if you guys don't know, like Justin and I have known each other for a little bit, primarily through men's group and church stuff, and but this I'm excited to develop our relationship and our chemistry and see where Fold and Share Theology goes.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about in our first episode ever?
Yeah. So our debut episode, we're going to be introducing not only ourselves, so not only as we're getting to know each other, everyone else can get to know us as well,
right.
But also this awesome book, 3 Commands, which was written by ours truly here, Bruce Pagano the second.
Yeah, the second.
And I'm gonna try not to say I'm so excited so many times. I watched back or listened to the the trailer, and I was like, I said I'm so excited like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So and I'm gonna try not to say.
So you are excited.
I've already said it like 5 times already.
Sure.
So I am excited. This is the beginning of this book was so cool. So I'm really glad that we're going through it. But before we get to that, we definitely want to kick it off with introducing ourselves. So why don't you start, Bruce?
Okay. We didn't plan what we're going to say. So just a little bit about me.
Yeah.
I am married. I have 4 kids. I have 2 that are grown and out of the house, 23 and 21, living in Seattle area, Washington, and not Phoenix. He's a little bit north of Phoenix, but he's in the Prescott Valley area of Arizona. Which, just important note to Prescott Valley, Arizona, is that they have an In-N-Out there. So that's crucial.
Maybe we should move there.
Not moving there, but I will visit. My son lives there for In-N-Out. But also my son.
Well, of course, of course. Family first, then burgers. Depends
Anyway.
on how good the burger is.
I have 2 other kids that live at home. A 5-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. So I got 3 boys, little girl. So I've been a Christian for a long time. 30 years now, 31 years. Since I was 12 is when I got saved. Yeah. And grew up in a Catholic family up to that point, so a lot of guilt and a lot of family members that drank a ton. Yeah, actually, but not like alcoholism, just always alcohol. I don't know. I don't know if there's a difference.
Yeah, you got to pair it with food, Yeah.
There was always some Anisette or some wine or anyway. So Christian for a long time, joined the military when I was 18.
Wow.
Got married like a year inside of the military. Was a cop. I was a cop in the military, so I did law enforcement and industrial security. I did ground combat stuff. Deployed a few times to Saudi Arabia and Kyrgyzstan, and then kind of like right about 15 years in, my first marriage ended.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just a bunch of garbage. And at that point, I'd been a Christian for about 20 years and didn't really understand what following Jesus meant. Like, it was surely more of a behavior thing, and I get into that in the book.
Yeah.
But it was when my marriage ended that I kind of was done at my wit's end and found Jesus. Like actually found what it meant to be with Him and to follow Him and to be the Christian that I'd always heard about and read about from time to time, but that I hadn't really ever seen at that point. So really focused a couple years on just trying to learn God. Had some great mentors and some great friends. Found a fantastic community of young people that let me lead them. On a lot of different levels, but probably on more levels taught me more about following Jesus than I taught them. I met my wife during that time, and so we got married in 2011. So we're at 9 years of marriage.
Congratulations!
Thanks. And just had our anniversary actually during the COVID thing.
Oh,
so we
did a staycation.
Did the same thing that we'd done every single night up to that point and watched Netflix.
Right, whatever was left of Netflix.
I think we might have had an extra glass of wine or something.
There you go.
And then so in that time, like I was in the military and I was getting ready to retire, and I went to seminary, got my master's in Christian ministry, and had it in my head that I was going to be a pastor of a church, and God kind of changed my views on some of those things, and retired from the military, and by then had already started writing Three Commands and already saw the need for community versus just gathering on Sunday morning by itself, and saw that there needed to be this kind of blended marriage between those two things. Joined some friends and got invited to the DC area, and joined some friends over there right after I got out of the military, and we were kind of focused on planning some neighborhood-based home churches.
Okay.
And for a lot of different reasons, we didn't end up staying. We were there for almost a year and a half. Still, like, it didn't end badly. We just kind of had different visions for how that was going to go, and kind of decided, where do we go? We owned a house in Cheyenne at the time, and I don't think anybody lives in Cheyenne, Wyoming on purpose. I just lost our Wyoming demographic. I'm just joking. I know a lot of people that live in Cheyenne.
We're BSU fans anyway, right? So they're going to...
Cowboys. No, I know a lot of people that live in Cheyenne on purpose, and I love them and pray for them often. Kat, Jeff, Aaron, all you guys.
Definitely during the winter.
Definitely during the winter.
Yeah.
And we just didn't want to... It didn't feel like home. And out of nowhere, we both were kind of like Boise, because my wife Sarah grew up in this area, kind of Sun Valley, Idaho. And,
wow, yeah.
And
beautiful area.
My son Malachi's dad lived here in Boise, and it just made sense. Both of my kids were in Seattle at the time, and my parents live in Coeur d'Alene, so it made sense.
Yeah.
So we came here, and it was on the way here that I had been doing up to that point, like some pastoral counseling, but often I'd be like, I don't have the tools to help you, and it was on my way here that God really corrected some of my views on pastorship and pastoring churches. I explained but I'd gotten to a point where I was a little cynical, a lot cynical, and not in a helpful way.
Yeah.
And God kind of corrected some of that view. And it was on my way here that I realized, like, man, I think I want to be a counselor. I think I want to get the tools to actually help people all the way into a healthy identity, so that they can contribute to the body of Christ in healthy ways. So I think it's always Jesus, but sometimes it's Jesus in therapy.
Sure.
You know? And sometimes it's Jesus in therapy and medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of all that, we get here. I finished my degree in counseling. So right now, I am a licensed professional counselor. I finally this year published a book that I've been working on for 7 years.
Yeah.
I just last month opened my private practice in downtown Nampa, which I'm super excited about. I'm a dean of students at a public middle school, which if you ever want to have your faith tested, go work in a public middle school.
Yeah.
Those kids will question and make you question everything you believe about anything.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, that's me. My wife's an amazing photographer and artist, and going to midwifery school. And yes, that's the right way to say that word, midwifery.
Yeah.
And she just finished her first year, and yeah, so that's me.
That's in the intro of your book. I mean, it expands more of even what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate the condensed, but just some of the detail that goes into this intro and this invitation, really amazing, worth the read. But thank you for that. So I'll just do a little introduction for myself. Yeah. So I'll tell you, not as many accolades, but I'm from a small town in Oregon called Forest Grove, Oregon. Most people have no idea where that is. Nope. So I usually just tell them, we're outside of Tillamook. And they're like, oh, yeah, cheese factory. Yeah. So, we're...
Good cheese factory, too.
Oh, man. We toured that so many times. The cheese is great. You get to watch the cows, and the whole process is amazing. They just remodeled it, though, which is... I want to go back someday.
Cool.
But was there, and we then moved to more the Portland area, the greater Portland area. And 2007, my dad moved us out to Boise just because he was actually doing like the enrollments for a college that was out here. Cool. And they said, hey, what do you think about moving to Boise? And most of us were like, where's Boise? I don't know where it even is. Like, where is that? Like, where's Idaho? I mean, we're in Oregon, and we don't even have Idaho. So, and with his video camera out the front of his car window was filming the trees going, by, and that's how we figured out what Boise looked like, which was obviously, once we got here, it was a lot more beautiful than just trees going by the camera, there. So, but it was, we moved, I graduated in 2008, so we moved in 2007. So I did most of my high school just in Oregon.
So your dad did to you what I did to my son and moved his senior year?
Yes.
I felt bad about it, but it is what it is.
I think we actually moved. We moved and had to stay in a hotel while our house was being done. And I think we moved on Thanksgiving Day or something like that. And it was 10 o'clock at night, and we were like, is it Thanksgiving? It was just crazy. But we've been here ever since, and just amazing. I went to, started off at the College of Southern Idaho in Twin Falls. Oh, cool. I was a cheerleader there, which most people don't know.
That's crazy.
That's right, yeah. I was a cheerleader there.
Throwing?
Yeah, I was throwing. They weren't throwing me, that's for sure. No, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so I was a cheerleader there, studying hospitality management. Oh, cool. And then I decided to go to Boise State University. And I went for a few years, and then I started working, and I never actually went back to finish my degree, so I'm still unfinished, almost there though, but hopefully able to go back someday. But I just then started working in sales and was making pretty good money in sales, so I was like, I was young, and I was like, hey, I don't need school, I can just make money doing sales, so, but that just kind of built up my career and that sort of thing. As far as my Christian walk though, always grew up in the church. I actually did Royal Rangers through church. I did. I was in the worship team, all that kind of stuff. And so I'd say I probably gave my life probably around the same age, about 12, 13 years old. I think it was at a Royal Rangers camp, actually. I think we were on the top of a mountain. My buddy Luke was up there with me and my buddy Johnny, and we're all from Forest Grove, Oregon. Right. And we just were looking up the stars, and it was just it all was just amazing. It was like, whoa, this the God who made all these stars also.
I guess if you're gonna get saved on a mountain, it's
probably, it was so good. Yeah. In the mountain, by the bonfire with the stars. It was so good. So that's how I just basically through that time just kept maturing a little bit more. Obviously, maybe slid a little bit during college years, but then I came right back out of college and was like, you know what, this God thing is real. So started diving into the Word. That's what I'm still doing now. Even a couple of years later, but just diving into the Word and getting to know the Lord, and it's just been amazing. So, But now I work in insurance.
Right, yeah.
So now I'm in insurance. It's been great. I've been having a blast doing that. I've got a wife. We've got a little 3-year-old girl as well. So, man, girls are awesome.
Yep.
I love having a girl.
I like being a girl dad.
It's so good. I'm just like, I don't care. Here's the thing you may not know. So my little girl and me, we share a birthday.
Oh, really?
That's right.
That's cool.
She was born on my birthday. So since 2017, I haven't had any birthdays since then. But, but they've all
It's a fair trade.
It's been pink.
Yeah.
It's been everything. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We went to Chuck E. Cheese last year. We did a pink party this year.
I mean, technically, once you have kids, you lose your birthday anyway. Like, there's like you get some degree of it, but my wife makes sure she gets her birthday.
How does that work? I don't know.
That's not fair.
Yeah,
but you play drums. You're a drummer.
That's right. Yep, I play drums. I've been playing drums for. I've never had a lesson. That's the other thing.
Really?
Never had a lesson in drums.
Oh, you would not know that.
I just basically watched people do it, watched YouTube videos, and just kind of picked it up along the way. So that's
awesome.
I've played guitar. I've played piano. I've played hammered dulcimer. I've played.
What's a hammered dulcimer?
Hammered dulcimer. It's amazing. It's this like multi-stringed instrument. You use these tiny little hammers with felt on the tip of it, and you. Oh, it's amazing.
That's fantastic.
So much fun.
I own a cello that I've never played, and I want to learn to play, but we'll see.
You know what? That would be fun. I'd like to see.
That's my son learns music the same way, like instruments, the same way that you do. Yeah. Like he just picks it up, and he's like, he's very mathematical.
Oh, okay.
And so he's like, oh, this is easy. Like where you play bass guitar? And he's like, yeah. Yeah,
right, yeah.
When? Like, yesterday. Like, okay.
Yeah, that. Yeah, it was one of those things where, man, I love the way you can just make things sound different, make things really cool. But the drums are by far the most fun because they get to make the most noise. So that's
And I wouldn't have guessed. No lessons.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But so that's just a little bit about me. But well, moving on. In our teaser episode, we talked a little bit about the reason for the podcast. But I want to talk a little bit more about the background and the history leading up to this podcast. So, Bruce, would you give us a little bit of kind of a leading up history lesson of it?
Yeah. So the podcast, this podcast, Folding Chair Theology, and we talked about in the promo teaser video that Folding Chair Theology, the name in and of itself is this kind of double meaning,
right? Yeah.
Poke fun at armchair theologians, whom I've claimed like I'm an armchair theologian.
Yeah.
I've claimed that title in the past.
I'm more of a recliner theologian myself, but
which is probably the better theologian.
Kick my feet up.
Yeah. So Folding Chair Theology kind of kicks or kind of pokes at that a little bit. Like you want to be on the team as a theologian, but you're not really on the team because you don't have like the cred. And you probably couldn't last in a conversation with legitimate theologians.
Right.
Which I've listened to and I'm just like, these guys are way smarter than me.
Yeah.
And I've been in those conversations where I'm like, I'm going to sit here and pretend I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to talk philosophy and just knowing the name Aristotle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're like yeah.
Alive stuff. Yeah, okay.
I think they're vegetarian on that one.
Yeah. And so it pokes fun at that a little bit. But more than that, it points to the fact that most of what I know when it comes to practical application of theology and practical integration into your life and understanding what the Word of God does to equip you in moving forward in your everyday life and like practicing the new command to love each other and like what it means to show forgiveness and be grace-filled and offer mercy came from sitting in small groups, often on a folding chair in someone's living room, in a home church or a lot of people call them a lot of different things, life groups, cell groups. At one point we called them cell groups, and then 9/11 happened, and we were like, nobody's a cell group.
Oh, yeah.
We are not terrorists.
Yeah.
So we got rid of that. We, at Awaken Church, where we go, we call them family groups.
Yep.
So most of what I know when it comes to the tangible practical expressions of theology came from sitting on a folding chair and with people that I was doing life with. Like, it's one thing to see someone on Sunday morning and be like, hey, I love you, you're awesome, because we're Christian and we say I love you to everyone.
Right.
But it's another thing to like sit with someone that you see on a fairly continuous basis throughout your week, and know that like, oh man, they said something that was kind of hurtful, and I have to tell them, or I just have to keep pretending that it didn't happen. In which case, that's really unhealthy, and it's going to come to a head. And that's a whole different thing. Like, it's a whole different thing to play out forgiveness of someone that's really hurt you in a group of people that know you. And they're like, you haven't forgiven them, and they can poke that thing. And so that's folding chair theology. But leading up to this, I went to seminary, and I had some cynicism attached to the pastorship, like vocational pastorship. I was just like, man, it's just a job, and like that's like, I know pastors that do it well, but most of them, like, I just had a really bad taste in my mouth. And then, like I said, on the drive out here to Wyoming, we're not in Wyoming, we're in Idaho. On the drive out here from DC, it's a long drive. It's like 30 hours.
Verifiable.
And I listened to Eugene Peterson, who wrote the Message Bible. I listened to his memoir called The Pastor. And it was kind of through that God was just like, this is not, like, this is a call. Like, this is a gift to the church. And I was really I had cast off this idea of, I'll never lead a church. I'm not going to be a mega church pastor. And had kind of grounded myself in the thought that I'll just get my MDiv and I'll go be a theology professor somewhere. I'll get a doctorate of theology, and I just felt like God through that was like, oh, you want to be a mega church pastor? You just want a mega church inside of a university where your congregation changes every semester? And I was just like, dang it, you got me. And so, like, my heart kind of started, it was in seminary, and after graduating from seminary that my heart kind of started changing towards that. And then immediately after getting out here, like right before we got out here, I started my first podcast with my best friend of, 14 years now, and this other guy called The Odd Show. And it was GODD, and the G is silent. So we just said The Odd Show. And the shtick on that was that sometimes God feels silent, like the G in our name represents that silence that we feel like God is being silent sometimes. And it was just us trying to figure out like how to live life as Christians in the world, in a pluralistic world, and stay faithful to what Jesus calls us to. Originally, when we talked about starting that podcast, like several years before that, it was just to make fun of Christian media, because Christian media is typically horrible. And we matured, and like wiser heads prevailed, and decided like probably not okay for Christians to make fun of Christians. And so it kind of morphed. But we did that for 100 episodes. Like we like
that was a lot of episodes.
Primarily because people were like, most podcasts don't last past 7 episodes. And we're stubborn, and we were like, I don't care that nobody's listening. We're going to put out 100 episodes. And the only reason it ended really was because my friend Thomas and his family are moving to the Philippines to do missionary work long term. Like they're building a house out there, and they're going to do sustainable farming, and they're going to capture the culture. The land, like regenerate the land for Christ, and like feed people, and have a respite for missionaries and pastors, and introduce people to the kingdom. And
that's awesome.
And so, like, Idaho and the Philippines, the significantly different time zone, because he was living in Utah, and we were at least in the same time zone. And so I kind of was toying around with folding chair theology, and wasn't sure kind of where I wanted to take it, or what I wanted to do, if I wanted to co-host, if I just wanted to answer questions, or and then I think offhandedly during a men's group one, you were like, Bruce, we should do a podcast. And and I think I texted you and was like, I'll talk, like, I'll have this conversation with you. Like, I've already been thinking this.
Yeah.
And it just kind of snowballed. Like, and that was just like a month ago. Like, I don't even think it was.
Yeah, I was like, I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
And so that's it. Like, that's like, this is our platform to introduce theology to people in a way that's simple and accessible, and lets them know that theology is not this high-end thing, but it's for the people, and it's for everyone, and that there is a practical outworking of theology when it comes to God's word. So,
no, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing, is that we want Full and Share Theology to be a conversation about God and unlocking His richness of His word, for everyone. And we also want to highlight truths in the Bible that are very easy and practical that people can access, easily.
Right.
And this podcast is really not a showboat of how much knowledge we have, or schooling, or accolades that we've achieved. Really, it's just two guys from Idaho who love God and are seeking to understand His word, and the purpose of inviting people into fellowship not only with Him, but the body of Christ, and really through Jesus, the way that we do life together.
Yeah.
And so I definitely am looking forward to, starting this podcast, and, thank you for agreeing to me, because I was like, part of my, if someone said, what's your dream job? Instantly I would be like, I have like 3 things. That's not really instantly, but like instantly I would be like, radio show host would be like one of them, firefighter, or like Coast Guard, right? Now I don't like running, so I eliminated Coast Guard instantly.
And you should also not be a fighter. And I feel like they run a lot.
They run a lot and
carry heavy things.
And that's the thing, is like I'm all for like the hero stuff, busting through doors, that sort of thing. It's the like other like medical
if you could bust
stuff
through the door,
yeah,
and then you were like, go get them.
Yeah, right.
Like
exactly. And they'd be like, oh, thank you for busting the door down. But now when I do it, it's like a bad thing. You know, like
you can't just walk up to someone's house and bust the door.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm saving you.
Right. Yeah, just in case, But yeah. So anyway, so this is one of my passions. So I was really excited, and I was like, we're talking about God in our small group, and I'm like, we're digging into some like deep stuff in the Bible. I'm like, we should talk about this, like, so everyone can hear this, And so I was really excited.
For the record, frowned upon letting everybody hear what you're talking about in men's group.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
It's supposed to be. Hey guys, you mind if I record this? So that no, everyone's cool with that. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, whoops! I was recording that. Can we?
My bad.
Sorry, man.
Somebody edit that out. Yeah.
But so the way that we want to start this unification process is to dive into this book, 3 commands.
Right. So we're which is going to be the summer. Like, we're going to go through each chapter, and by the time you hear this, it will be over. But right now, we're recording this on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And for 3 days, it's free on
that's right.
Kindle. But I will say that starting on the 7th, this Sunday.
Okay.
For the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It'll be 20% off the print price for Father's Day.
Oh, okay.
So you should all get your dad a copy of 3 Commands at 20% off the cover price.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I'll tell you, like I said, just reading into this very first invitation is absolutely amazing. I love the story. Love your story behind it. And and if you, like I said, if you don't have the book right now, obviously this is a great opportunity to go through it with us. But you can pick up the book on really anywhere. But really, check out our website, foldingchairtheology.com. Also, 3commandsbook.com, as well as, like you said, Amazon, Walmart. I mean, there's this.
If you're going to buy it online, go to Amazon. Don't buy it on Walmart. Not that I'm against Walmart, but I'd like the algorithm bump.
I tried to do it through the grocery, but they wouldn't do it.
This is like Winco's like, no.
Apparently that was
We don't carry that. Stop it.
But so for today we'll start with the invitation of the book. So,
right. And so the invitation is the introduction to the book, but I just felt like that calling it an introduction was disingenuous for what I wanted.
Yeah.
And what I wanted was to invite people in. So the book starts with my invitation.
Yeah.
And it's subtitled. That chapter is subtitled "Looking for Jesus" or "Looking for Love and Finding Jesus."
That's right. Yep.
And then the book ends with a chapter called. The conclusion is called "His Invitation." Looking for Jesus and finding others.
That's like bookends to and I'll tell you, I really appreciate my invitation because typically if there's a book and it says like preface or I want to dedicate this to you, you typically just skip it. I mean, I'm sure they're very important for the people who write it, and I appreciate that you do. Right. But lots of times you just go. But when I saw like the invitation, well, what's the invitation? Well, I read it and absolutely great. So yeah, tell me, why did you write that? Why did you write 3 Commands?
So I kind of wrap up the invitation with the why of it. Like, so the whole first part of I think probably the invitation is one of the longer chapters in the book, which I didn't mean to happen. And it's actually, I told you, but it's the last chapter that I wrote.
Right.
So I'd written everything else. I actually had written the entire book. Wrote the conclusion, titled it Conclusion, and then sent it out to my beta readers. Beta readers are people that kind of, if you don't know, they read books before they go out for consistency and coherency of thought. And usually they're people that are familiar with the subject. So like if I was writing, nobody that read my book was like a expert on alligators. Like there were people that.
Do you know experts? I don't know. Alligator experts,
alligatorologists. I don't know.
Oh,
but they were people that knew what I was trying to communicate, and that had been a part of and so pastors and one of and I mentioned him in there, but our pastor Adam. Yeah. I sent it to him and he read it, and our first conversation was like, man, like chapter 1's great. It's amazing. It's fantastic. But I know your heart, and I know you want people to feel invited in and loved. And I didn't feel loved and invited in. Not that I don't think that you were trying to communicate love, because the book's about love, but that I didn't feel invited into this thing in a loving way.
And that was like that was like a friend telling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was like as your pastor. No, it was like, no, as your friend.
He was saying like, Bruce, I know your heart, and I know you want people to feel loved, and you need to have a chapter or an introduction in your book that invites them in and helps them feel loved. Yeah,
and how nice is that to have that real feedback?
Yeah, too. Absolutely. And I think I mentioned it last week, like just even the feel of the book and the colors on the book. Some of the best feedback I got was that from Adam, and then the 17-year-old girl was like, "Oh yeah, this isn't intimidating. I would pick this up because it's approachable." And I was just like, "That's awesome." Yeah. So the whole first part of the invitation is essentially my life, like how I got from just being really jaded and cynical about Christianity to the point where when my marriage was ending, I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with you. Yeah. Not that I didn't believe in God, and I think I say it in there. Like, I didn't not believe in God. I believed in God. I just didn't believe that He cared. Yeah. That He was a good God.
I mean, your very first 2 words of the whole thing, I'm done.
Right.
And I love that. I love that. That's a great way.
And that wasn't like, it's in the context of my marriage ending, but I was saying it to God. Like,
right. Yeah.
And so kind of the last few paragraphs of the book, or of the introduction, the invitation, is this book is meant to be like my love letter. Like, not that I fancy myself St. Paul, or Peter, or any of the apostles. But I think that when they wrote letters that became books of the New Testament, they were writing them to real people in real churches.
Right.
As acts of love. Like, they were writing them to communicate this very specific thing about Jesus in a loving way. And in essence, it was a love letter to those people. Like, he was writing to Timothy out of love and for love and directed by love. Mm-hmm. And this book is that. for me. Like this is me writing a letter to the church, to the body, because they're my people.
Yeah.
Because I love them, because I love the bride of Christ, because I love Jesus, and because I want, more than anything, Christians to be engaged in healthy kingdom living, in healthy body work. And that's part of the reason I'm a counselor. I'm tired of pastors committing suicide, and I'm tired of Christians being hurt by abuse in the church. And so this book is me saying, guys, this isn't the only way, but there's a better way. And I went through a lot of those hurts and a lot of just garbage, and it doesn't have to be that way. And so this is my love letter, inviting people to this healthier, more whole version of Christian community, of kingdom living, that everybody in the world benefits from.
Right.
Like, even non-Christians. Like, those outside of God's kingdom still benefit from the grace that God pours out onto us, because we're so loving that we can't do anything except love them in a way that invites them into that same love. And that's it. Like, that's the thing. So,
and it's not necessarily like this whole notion of like, we're gonna love bomb these people, and then as soon as we bring them in, we're gonna throw in legalistic on them. It's like, no, this is the real Jesus' love, and you can bring yourself here, and you don't have to change it. You can just bring who you are, and we'll love you right there.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Which is so powerful. And what I really appreciated, just talking about that is, I want to, one of the first things is, so this is on page 12 of yours, and I have it underlined, Jesus Chili. It's this story, which, to be honest, for me, I was starting to tear up listening to this story. And just to give a little context, and you can maybe give us even a little bit of your perspective, is, here you are, I believe it was family night with your single dad,
yep.
But family night with your boys, and all of a sudden here comes a knock on the door, and it's a lady who
and kind of setting it up, setting it up.
Yeah, set it up for us.
I was leading a college ministry at the time, a young adult ministry, and there was no shortage of young adults in my house, pretty routinely.
That's right.
So like there was kind of this open invitation before me and my wife got married. And even afterwards, but they had to knock after we got married because somebody might not be dressed or whatever.
Yeah.
But we had kids. We weren't walking around naked. We weren't newlyweds like
Thank
that.
you for clarifying.
But anyway.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I'm with you.
But like they could come in and like there were times I'd come in and they're playing video games or eating spaghetti or and I'm like, oh hey, and they were just there. Like I didn't lock my door. Like they knew they could come, they'd stay till 2, and I'm like, I gotta work tomorrow. I gotta get up at 4:30, so I'm going to bed. And they'd stay and watch movies in the basement. So the thing that I had asked them though was Thursday nights are family night.
Oh, I see.
I need to be able to give my boys some time that's theirs.
Yeah.
And so there's other leaders in this organization. This didn't fall on me. Like our leadership team, we called the round table, and there were 5 of us, and we actually had more leaders than just the 5 of us, but it wasn't this like singular person based leadership. So my thing was just like, look, there's other people. If it's an emergency, go to them, and then like I'll be there for you. So there's a knock on my door that Thursday night, and I was just like already irritated. I was just like, come on. Like,
who is knocking on the door? Yeah.
You know better. Because I just knew it was a young adult. Like,
yeah.
So, anyway, that's setting up the...
No, and I love that. And it really just, okay, this was a very important night, and then here comes this lady with a crock pot full of chili. And tell me about you're opening that door and you're seeing, and they're just giving you this pot of chili. What does that do for you?
Yeah, and so it was one of my, and I, one of the leaders texted me after she read that and was like, "Who was it?" And I don't even remember who it was. I think I remember because that was just the first time, and they did it every Thursday.
Wow.
For about 2 months, and then young adults are like, "No, we're done with that."
Yeah,
like, moving on.
So,
but it didn't matter that it was only 2 months. It mattered that they did it, and they did it themselves. Like they came up with it themselves, and they were like, "What's the best way that we can love Bruce?"
Oh wow.
And it was, we want him to not have to worry about dinner on family night. We want him to be able to come home, eat with his boys, and then do what he's gonna do.
Wow.
That's it. And so I opened the door, and there's this young lady standing there, in her 20 years old, 25 years old, with this crock pot of chili. And I was just like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's just like, "Oh, we decided that we were going to make dinner for you on family nights from now on.
Wow.
So you don't have to worry about dinner."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, seriously?" And they were like, "Yep." Handed me the chili and said, "I love you," and left. And it was the first time that I genuinely felt loved by God. Like, I knew God loved me.
Right.
I knew that He'd put people in my life to be there with me and to kind of sit with me through my pain and my joy and my agony and share life with me. But legitimately, like, I was like, this is a tangible expression, and it's freaking chilly. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be. But man, like, it wrecked me. And it was the first time that I was just like, that's what loving each other feels like. Like, that's what love, like Jesus physically loving me feels like.
Right.
This young lady bringing me chili. And it wasn't the chili. It was so I could be with my sons because they knew what was important at that time. And it was probably one of the first times that, like, it surely wasn't the first time that something like that was done for me, but it was the first time that I understood its parallel to loving each other and Jesus being present among us when two or three are together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
and that's so important because here you are a leader who's, you're busting your hump over and over and over again for these young people, and through your blessing of them, it's almost like, well, I'm a leader, so I don't expect to get blessed back because it's kind of like I want to bless them.
Right.
So then when they in turn then go, we're gonna bless you, it really goes. You kind of turn into like, wait, me? Like, you're gonna do this for me? Like, when this whole time you were loving them and influencing them, and so I think that's so cool, especially when the pressure that leaders and pastors and that sort of thing, when they have to deal with 100 emails on Monday morning from whatever they messed up on Sunday morning or whatever, it's like, man, if one of those people just comes up and says, you know what, we're going to take care of your family for the next, like you said, 2 months of whatever. That's just so impactful. I think that's a great illustration of, like, and it's so simple. Like you said, the chili is probably super cheap to make. Right. And the chili itself, it's like, it doesn't even have to be the best chili in the world. Just the notion that this is Jesus' love, that was the big deal. Like,
and for me, it was the distinction between, because you said it was like you're constantly putting yourself out and just working to just show your love, and that was, I didn't realize it at the time, but that's one of the defining moments that separates love your neighbor from love each other, and it helped me to realize loving your neighbor. The call to love your neighbor is a pouring out, like it's always a pouring out, without an expectation that they're going to appreciate it or even love you back. Loving each other is this me pouring out to give to these young adults, because I love them, and then them giving it back and reciprocating it. Like they're like love, like it's not like, hey, neighbors love each other. It's love your neighbor. Yeah. And then it's love each other. That's my new command. Love each other. And that was the defining moment for, like, one of the primary defining moments was that, like, oh, this is us loving each other.
Wow. Yeah.
So
that's absolutely amazing. Now, one of the other things I thought really resonated with me, and this I think kind of goes along, is there is a section here on Let me see, where is it here? Oh yeah, here we go. Page 8. So this is about halfway down the page. We talk about the Sunday morning Christian handshake. How you doing? Fine. How you doing? Fine. How's your family? Fine. Everything's fine. Everything's good and fine. And great. Good game. See you later. And that is the typical response that we have on a Sunday morning. And what I really love...
Busy. Like, hey, how you doing? Busy, man. I'm busy.
Busy.
Like,
I'm busy.
Busy.
Yeah. Did you make it on Tuesday? No, I'm busy. I'm so busy. And I think this is so important. I mean, this is so important that, that we do really congregate together and do life together because... And there was a story you were sharing to me about this happening on a Sunday morning.
Right.
Tell us about it.
You want me to share that?
Yeah, I really like that story.
So this specifically, kind of what you're talking about, is just that, and you're reading a book called
The Cure.
The Cure.
Yes.
And they talk about the masks that we wear, right?
That's right, yeah. And really the premise is that the masks are like,
Is that John Lynch?
John Lynch. John Lynch. Not the football player, but the author. Which I love John Lynch, the football player. But the premise is that we've got the room of good intentions. This is where we put our mask on. I'm fine, I'm good. Do you sin? No, I don't sin. Do you sin? No, I don't sin. And like, everything's good.
And that room of good intentions is focused on pleasing God.
Pleasing God, yeah. If I sin less, He's going to love me more. If I, cover it up, whatever. But then there's this transition to the room of grace, where it's like, I can take my mask off and go, you know what? I'm not doing good. Right. And what I love in that book, but I do love in this book, is kind of like, you become into like the trusting God side of things. Right. And this is where we have this amazing call as Christians to go, hey, you're in this room of grace, and you can say, I've got some, bad is happening in my life, and I want to tell you about it. And instead of you being like, oh, no, put your mask back on, like, right. We don't do that here, Right. You're like, no, let's talk about it.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And I quote John Lynch in later chapters.
Oh, cool, yeah.
So I think it was before he wrote The Cure. He was preaching that message, and he just called it The Two Roads.
The Two Roads, yeah.
And you can go on Facebook. on YouTube and
Google Trueface. I think is
It's Trueface is his. I got the book, but Trueface is the first book that he wrote. I think, and he co-wrote it with a couple people.
But yeah, YouTube has.
But if you go to YouTube and just Google or just search Two Roads John Lynch, it's an amazing video.
It's is really well done. Yes.
And he's such a genuine guy. Super smart guy, but he's been preaching that message for a long time. And so, like, I don't know when he wrote the book, but The Cure. And so this, I'm kind of getting at that a little bit. I haven't read The Cure. It's on my to-read list, but I'm kind of getting on that a little bit where it's like, hey, Sunday mornings we like paint on these smiles and we put our masks on and we like maybe you're just in a fight with your family in the car, right? The pastors joke about it. Like they joke like and I get why they joke about it, but they joke about it. They're just like, look, you're just fighting with your wife in the car and you come here and you're like, oh, God is awesome and great. And we walk up and we paint on these smiles and we do the like, I'm good, yep, busy, oh man, like things are good, busy.
Yeah.
And while I was right before I started writing this invitation, I was walking into church, I think it was last year sometime, and just one of my friends was walking up and I was like, hey buddy, how you doing, man? And he was just like, you know what? Life's, and he said a bad word.
Yeah, right. He said outside the building. No,
yeah, he said outside the building. So it's totally cool. It's totally cool. It's cool. Like but he was just like, life is crap right now. It's garbage right now.
Yeah.
And I could have said, man, that really sucks. I'll pray for you, and walked on.
Yeah, right.
Because I had to get to church.
Right.
Like I had to get into
11 o'clock. We got kids to check in.
Service starts, man.
Coffee's getting cold.
But instead, because I fancy myself a new command practitioner.
Yeah.
I hope that I look for the opportunity enough to actually love other Christians.
Yeah.
That it has started to become this second nature thing. Instead of doing that, I stopped and was just like, dude, tell me, like, And he was like, I was like, tell me.
Yeah.
And he did. And it sucked. And it was hard.
Yeah.
And what we got to do was like actually pray together at church. That's crazy, you know.
Right.
But we actually got to pray together. And then we set up a coffee date to go talk. And I didn't solve his problems. Like, I for sure didn't solve his problems.
Right.
But what I did do was make myself available to him. And love makes itself available. And you know, like, you want to love each other well.
Yeah.
Be honest with each other at church.
Right.
And then let that bleed into your week and make yourself available. Like, and that was it. Like, that was it. Like, so.
You know, and that is very important because, I mean, a lot of people even go, okay, I'm gonna be like, yeah, hey, how you doing? Oh, you're doing bad. Hey, we should get coffee sometime. Yeah. And then it ends there.
We set the appointment in the parking lot.
Exactly. And that's the important, that's the follow, that's the very next step is like.
And I'm going to tell you too, it's going to be foreign to people. Like like the first person is like, you know, things could be better. The first time that you say, well, tell me what's going on. They're going to be like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, right.
Nope. Why? Nope. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But they want.
Yeah.
They want someone to know.
Yeah.
They want someone to hear. And then when you're like, because even I was just like, let's set an appointment now. He's like, well, I was like, dude, come on, you got your phone in your pocket. Like, you know what your schedule is.
Yeah.
Let's set an appointment right now. And we did.
Yeah.
Like, so they're going to kind of brush it, try and like, no, it's okay. But like, no, man, like, it's not okay. Like, what's okay is that I'm here for you. So.
Well, and you know, the thing is that the amazing worship is going to be there again next week.
Right.
And, I mean, even now with live stream, if you missed that first song, you can watch it on Monday.
I promise you can Google any song that they're going to play in church on Sunday morning and listen to it live on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And worship just the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I take that back. I don't want to belittle the joy and celebration that comes from gathering and worshiping with other people. There's something to that.
But
absolutely. Not more important than the person that needs you, that's standing right next to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if you had the chance to intervene in that person's life and go, you know, hey, I'm going to take that first half of that song, and I know I'm missing it, I can hear it in the background, but hey, we're going to set up a coffee date, that may end up changing their lives forever, or they'll end up having community with you and that sort of thing. And so, so I mean, like, give me a final thought. Tell me how do we wrap up this invitation? What's the big point?
I think I would say I'm right now engaged in a small group of people that are learning this. So while I've gotten to experience some of this on a microcosm, on a very, like, on a small scale, which, and I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to make anybody mad, college isn't real life.
Right.
Like, young adulthood is real life, but it's very different when you have soccer practice and ballet and bills and spouses, and like, it's just very different.
Yeah.
And I had way more time when I was a single dad to play ultimate frisbee.
Yeah.
Like, I just did.
Yeah.
I have less time now.
Yeah.
So I have to be more particular. But right now, I'm getting to live out with a small group of people what I've thought in theory for a long time, for 7 years, based on what I learned in that young adult group and since then. And it's amazing. So I'm still learning. Like, so I would say that the wrap up to this invitation is, I would love, like, this isn't me having it figured out. This is me working through theory while I'm practicing that theory. And I go back and read some of the stuff I'm written, and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd have said that different. Or, oh man, that's good. I forgot about that. Like, I need to remember that for these people that I'm with. Yeah. So I think that the wrap up for the invitation is, and I say it at the end, join me. Join me in this journey of discovering healthy gospel-centered community.
Yeah.
That loves well and invites people into a kingdom that loves well. and I want to know. Like, I want to know, like, the reason it's free on. I just want people to read. Like, I'd love to recoup the few $1,000s that it costs to self-publish.
Sure.
But I don't care as much as I care about people reading this and then being like, yeah, but what about this, Bruce?
Mm.
Or, hey, that was really good and we're doing this and it's working, but this didn't work for us. Or, hey, Bruce, where are you at with this? Like, how's this working for you? Like, I want those conversations.
Yeah.
Because I care about that, and I'm inviting people to join me in that conversation because I want that discussion. So,
and this is a great platform here. Is that we've got two other sides of this table. We've got some more folding chairs available. It's like this is an opportunity for.
I got an extra mic.
Yeah, there you go. This is an opportunity for anyone who's listening to be able to say, you know what, I do have a question about this. I don't understand this, or this sounds good, but how do I do this? And that is what we want to invite everyone listening and watching to do. And next time we're going to be going over part 1, which is what is love.
Right.
Which when I read that, I was like, think of the song. What is love?
That's the very first. The Hadaway's 1993 hit.
That's it, man.
And bang bang.
Yes,
love?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the big question in everyone else is what is love?
And just to be clear, like next episode's actually God is love.
God is love.
But the lead-in is the first. So the book's broken down into 3 parts. Part 1 is what is love, and chapters 1, 2, and 3, and it talks about. I guess this is probably important. It talks about God is love, the old covenant cycle, and He loved us first, like what that means. And then the second part of the book is why we love. Who we love.
Yeah.
And introduces the new command.
Yeah.
And the greatest command, to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Yeah.
And then the second command, which is love your neighbor as yourself. And then part 3 is why we love.
Mm-hmm.
And it addresses... I forgot my chapters.
That's right. We have.
It addresses. Chapter 7 is for each other on, so it addresses Christian community. It addresses disciple making, and then it addresses evangelism, going out and offering mercy to people and inviting people in. And then it wraps up with Jesus' invitation, like looking for love and finding others.
Cool.
Or finding love and looking for others. So my invitation was looking for love and finding Jesus. His invitation is finding love and looking for others to come in. So.
And there's some real practicality that comes from this, and I'm really looking forward to breaking that down. And so you definitely are not going to want to miss out on the next episode as we continue through Bruce's book, 3 Commands. And we just want to thank you for listening and thank you for joining us. That's our show today. You can connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram. We also have our website at foldindsharetheology.com. And make sure you do check out Bruce's website, 3 books. 3commandsbook.com.
Right.
And we would love to hear from what you think about the podcast, what questions you have about what we're discussing, and we'll definitely be answering as we go along. And that's our plan. That's the next thing. Bruce, any parting words?
No, I don't think. I'm really excited about how this is gonna go. We at least have 9 weeks, 9 more weeks.
Yeah, 9 more weeks, or however long it takes. But and you can definitely find this podcast on many different platforms. I downloaded it on my Apple phone. Yep. Yeah, it was great. Boom, right there. And so we do thank you for listening.
And go on those platforms and rate it. Love that only helps put us up if people are rating it on iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify. So
and that helps us too understand how people think about it. So, all right, till next week, we'll be back, and thank you so much for listening to Fold and Share Theology here with Justin Mercier and Bruce Bigano.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to Fold and Share Theology. You can follow Bruce on multiple social media platforms at bpags2, as well as Justin Mercier on Instagram at justinmercier13. Additionally, you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Folding Chair Theology. Until then, keep unfolding God's Word each and every day.